Actually, before we dive deeper into new features, let's quickly talk about a couple of shortcuts and things you can do here in Visual Studio Code to speed up your development and to be more efficient as a developer. Of course, all of that is optional, but nice to know. And let's start with all that white space that was added automatically, for example, when you pressed this format document shortcut. As I just said, it's added automatically, but sometimes you also need to add some indentation manually because you messed something up there, and you can always quickly do that by hitting the Tab button on your keyboard. This adds multiple blanks at once, so instead of hitting the spacebar multiple times, you can just hit Tab fewer times and you'll have the same effect. Of course, you can also always press that format document shortcut, but there also sometimes are scenarios where format document actually formats the code a bit differently than you might want it, and in such cases it's nice to know that you can quickly add the appropriate amount of indentation with the Tab button on your keyboard. The Tab button also can be used for more useful things though. Let's say you want to add the title here. Of course, we did already add it, but let's delete it and re-add it. Now, as soon as I start typing anything here, we get this auto-completion, these suggestions here in Visual Studio Code. And the more we type, the more those are narrowed down. Now, if you found the suggestion you want to use, you can always select it in this suggestion overlay here, and then hit Enter or the Tab key to autocomplete this suggestion, so that you don't have to type the full word. And I use that a lot. I autocomplete basically everything which I write, and that again saves a lot of time. And besides saving a lot of time, it also avoids errors and typos, because if you autocomplete a suggestion, there can't be a typo in it. So that's another benefit of using the autocompletion and these suggestions a lot. And then, of course, we got additional benefits like the automatic addition of this closing tag here by Visual Studio Code, but that happens automatically without pressing any shortcut. Now I will use Control-Z to reverse this and go back to my old title here. Now you also get these suggestions here in CSS. If you start typing something here, like background color, I get these overlays here as well. I can select the property I want to use. And these suggestions also are smart, and Visual Studio Code tries to sort them such that the most probable thing which I want to pick is auto-selected and is at the top here. But if that's not the property I want to add, we can use the arrow keys to select a different one. And then here, once you got the suggestion you need, you can again select it, hit Tab, and autocomplete this, and now I also get appropriate suggestions for the value this property needs. So since this is a color, I get some color suggestions here. And these are all some convenience features which you really should play around with, which you should explore, as they can really save you a lot of time. Now, when it comes to writing HTML elements, you got another quick way or another utility feature here in Visual Studio Code that can save you time. Let's say we want to add another paragraph here. You can, of course, add this opening angle bracket, type P, and type the closing angle bracket. And that's not too bad. But you can also just type P without any angle brackets, and then you should also get this suggestion pop-up here, and you see that it says Emmet abbreviation here. And Emmet is a built-in plugin in Visual Studio Code that helps with auto-completing and auto-creating HTML elements. If you type the name of an element without the angle brackets, you should get this overlay here, these Emmet abbreviations. And if that's open and you then hit the tab key, you see this automatically creates such a HTML element for you. And that works for the paragraph. It, of course, also works for the title. And you don't even need to type the full word, just starting with it and then having the correct suggestion selected allows you to hit the tab key to autocomplete it. Now, of course, we don't need the title here in the body. This was just an example. So these are a couple of useful shortcuts and tricks you should be aware of. Another very useful feature is that you can quickly move items like HTML elements or CSS properties around if you need to change the order. For example, if I want to move that paragraph in front of that paragraph, we can of course cut it and then go there, add a new line and paste it. And let me revert this. Or we can drag and drop it actually. So if it's selected, you can drag it and drop it here and then press that auto format shortcut. Or you can also select it and then press the Alt key and an up or down arrow to move this item up or down. And this is also a quick way of switching orders and moving HTML elements or CSS properties around. And you don't even need to select everything, just having your active cursor in that line which you want to move up or down is enough. Now there are way more shortcuts and I don't want to overwhelm you right now, and diving into them and exploring them is definitely a good idea which you might want to explore or which you might want to do off screen once you feel like it. But I do definitely recommend that at some point you do dive into your keyboard shortcuts in Visual Studio Code and see which shortcuts you have here. Now, obviously you have a lot, but just looking through them and playing around with them certainly isn't a bad idea. Attached, you also find a link to more useful Visual Studio Code resources with some tips and tricks about the most important features and shortcuts that might be useful to you. And with that, that's it for the moment. Just a little bit of extra productivity which you might be able to unlock. And therefore, let's now get back to learning more about HTML and CSS.